Hello, viewers. This is Simon and Beckett here with another tier list. Hello, viewers! We are back with another tier list today. We are talking about the best active ATP forehands, and the volume bar is off the chart. The top 20 players, and some notable exceptions. Beckett and I have gone ahead and added some players to the rankings already, which we both agree on, and we think you do too. There's not too much to talk about. Carlos Alcaraz is S tier all day. We've got a bunch of the classic A's, B's, C's, and one F for Sir Andy Murray.
Give me this. Although Andy Murray did recently switch to a new racket, and we all know new rackets lead to better performance almost instantly. So at the end of Geneva, when he's done testing that E-Zone 100, I would expect him to move up a full mark up to D.
First up on the list, we have Alexander Bublik. He is fun, he is flashy, he is creative, and he is aggressive. He's turned into a true grinder on the tour. One of the guys that was known for tanking is now known for winning 3-set absolute slugfests, and his forehand is a big reason why. I think he has a ton of shots at his disposal. He has a ton of power at his disposal. I would put him in the B tier, but it's top of the list, to be honest. I think it's an amazing weapon against the top players. He does start to break down a little bit, but I think it's still a great weapon that can win him a ton of matches. I think upper echelon B tier all day. I'd put him ahead of Cerundolo, no problem.
I agree. I would like to say that all day, he might have the best forehand slice on tour, with the potential exception of Moutet. I honestly want to put him in A simply as a rebuttal to Intuitive Tennis's belief that Bublik is a stupid loser with bad sportsmanship. Didn't like what he had to say on Tennis Nerds podcast, but I'm going to put him at the top of B.
I would like to argue Intuitive Tennis is a stupid loser with bad sportsmanship. We're all about beefs now, okay? Somebody came for Trey, and we're just going guns blazing. Intuitive Tennis, we have beef with you. Do not go after Bublik, and keep our names out of your mouth. He's never come after us. But
oh wait, I want to talk. No, you can talk about Sinner. You like him more, right?
Yeah, I'd love Sinner.
But do you like him more than me?
I love Sinner. Okay, you like Sinner. You're talking about a completely different echelon.
I'm a
of Amber.
Sinner fan.
You are a bad. Next up, we have the sort of Italian Yannick Sinner. This kid is an absolute phenom that I have been super high on for, I want to say, 5 years. Back when everybody was writing him off as somebody who would break down at the slightest bit of unconventional tennis play, I still saw someone with tons of potential, and he has come to fruition full send. He is the best player in the league right now, full stop. With that being said, his forehand is a huge reason why he's as good as he is. He hits it so damn hard every single time. If you want to knock him, he doesn't have the creativity. He doesn't have some of the shots that a guy like Carlos Alcaraz has, but when your one weapon is hitting it through your opponent so consistently, so viciously, that they just cannot simply respond, you have to put it in S tier.
So give me this. Here's my opinion. You got one weapon, super versatile, like, a sword. You can use it for so many things. You can chop heads, you can cut steaks. That's Carlos Alcaraz. But then you've got Yannick Sinner, who is quite simply a nuclear bomb. You don't need to be able to chop steaks when you can explode entire countries, leaving generational trauma in a country in tatters. Okay, Stefanos Tsitsipas. I think there's a lot of people who want to put Stefo in S, but I think those people are wrong. Yes, he played amazingly. I think a big important thing for Stefanos was letting Badosa go. She clearly has eyes for someone else, and Stefanos needs to keep focused. He only needs his dad in his box to play his best tennis. We saw that finally in Rome. He's stringing together what I would call classic Tsitsipas performance. But even classic Tsitsipas, I don't think is an S tier forehand. It's everything around it. It's the way he uses his forehand to construct these points. but it lacks the power. It lacks the spin. And for that, I think it's A.
Well, that was horrific. I think Tsitsipas has a couple of S-tier qualities about him, but I don't think that his forehand is one of them. Unfortunately, I do agree with Beckett because Tsitsipas is actually one of my favorite tennis players. But his forehand is simply elite, but it is not top of the mountain. You cannot give S-tiers out to absolutely everybody. And I think that while Tsitsipas does use his forehand as a weapon, it's mostly as a setup tool for the next shot. You rarely see him just blast a forehand out of nowhere that the opponent simply cannot handle. He is usually needling, picking angles, changing his rhythms, changing his depths to kind of probe his opponent and figure out what the next best shot will be to finish off the point, usually involving him coming in and killing the shot, killing the point at the net.
Oh, he's got that as well. He has an answer to everything.
We don't even need my thing. I just agree. Next up, we have Morgs' boyfriend. It's Taylor Fritz. It is an absolute cannon of a forehand as well. He whips his forehand so hard. He hits a heavy topspin ball all day long. He also has some creative defensive plays because, to be frank, I don't think his footwork is very good. And it causes a lot of problems for him that he has to bail himself out of. So I think defensively and offensively, his forehand is an absolute strength. And I would honestly put him in the upper A tier if you ask me. I think it is a huge, huge weapon, both defensively and offensively. It can turn the tide, it can change the tide, it can roll the tide.
I have nothing more to add about that, so we're going to move on. Rafael Nadal, my hero, I think the greatest player of all time. Djokovic sucks. Federer is overrated. This is an S-tier forehand. He's got absolutely nothing left in the tank. If he doesn't show up at Roland Garros, I would be sad, but I wouldn't be surprised. We all want to see a good fight. This is an S-tier forehand. It's, we discussed, Simon and I discussed this off camera, but we're talking about where are these guys at with their forehand today, not where have they been at over the course of their entire career. And Rafa's had an S-tier forehand over the course of his entire career, but now he's got nothing but a forehand. He has no movement. He has no serve. His backhand's pretty good. And all that's letting him win these matches is his forehand. He's a broken man attached to an S-tier forehand.
While I see what Beckett is saying, he's losing in the second round of every tournament he plays. We're talking about current condition. And yes, his forehand is the only thing. His forehand is the only thing keeping him in matches, and it's not keeping him in matches. We'll see what he does in Roland Garros. We'll see what the doctors provide him. Can he make it?
But you're picking him on tweener. Right.
He's such a good value. So he is such a good value. He's basically free. You just pick him. It's a toss-up, and you get to pick the rest of your lineup as you were. I mean, at least for the first couple of rounds, he's a must-have because he's going to get some scrub. Roland Garros is going to give him some scrub that they found off the street. They're not even going... Like Carew says, they are not going out there and finding a competitive up-and-comer off the ITF circuit. They're not doing any of that. They're going out to the bar and asking someone, do you play tennis? Sure, get in there.
Put myself in there, maybe.
So it turns out that Raf is actually a pretty horrible pick for the sponsor of today's video, Tweener.
Tweener is a new fantasy app that allows you to play in tournaments alongside your friends by picking your favorite professional players and guessing who's going to perform best.
And speaking of friends, we have a TennCom league for all of you friends.
Yes, that's right. We have created our own TennCom league so that you can join and compete against Beckett and I and see who just knows more about tennis.
Honestly, I've been waking up every morning first thing to check out the matches and brag that my players won while Simon's players lost, as I'm currently up 2-1 on him with my draws doing better than his. Check out these prizes we've got. So $100 for the winner, 50 for the second winner or first loser, 50 for the third loser, which I guess There's 2 second winners. And then also, if you're 4th or 5th, you get a free racket or string consultation from me.
I mean, a racket consultation is a $300 value, so.
Easily. Join us in Tweener. We're going to be playing this whole French Open. We're super stoked about it. I would say this is one of the most fun we've had playing tennis.
Beckett doesn't even watch tennis. I do. And somehow Tweener has actually got him reinvigorated to watch tennis again.
And I'm caring about low-ranked players.
But I'm dead serious. This app is super, super fun. I would love it if you would all join us. We don't get paid per person who's going to join or anything. I just think, we both think this will be something really fun to do, and you can compete against us. So seriously.
It's free.
It's free. Join the link. Prove that you know more about tennis than we do.
Okay, I think we save water bottle head for the end.
Okay.
So we're going with Benny Boy Shelterino, the antithesis to water bottle head. It's it's Harry Chungus, you might call him. You might call me Bald Shelton. I think his forehand has some of the highest upside on tour. I know Simon agrees with that, but I don't think that upside is quite there. I'm hesitant to even put him in A, though he's seen some surprisingly strong results on clay. I think he won a tournament already this year. I want to put him near the top of B. He lacks the consistency despite having made those technical changes. I think he needs a little more time, a little more maturity, and we're going to see this forehand just ripen like the sweet fruit it is.
I agree. Elite competitor, S-tier competitor with S-tier potential on pretty much every single wing, but he's still developing. He's still young. He's B-tier for me all day long as well. Next up, we have Yuri Lehechka. He is an absolute nuclear bomb. If no one watched, and I don't blame you, my video on Carlos Alcaraz, I picked...
Give me that. It was a good video. I'm going to share the link to the description of this video. You should watch it. This is good.
He is a powerhouse. He came on with, honestly, a really developed game. And he just needed to develop into his body. He's young, and he is clearly filling out now. If he can avoid injuries, I think he's going to be a huge problem, and potentially someone that we're talking about along the likes of Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. And I think his forehand is A-tier all day. It's an absolute cannon a la Jannik Sinner.
I love Yuri Lehechka. I love what I saw from him in Madrid. Tear came to my eyes. I saw this man walk off court, but he is looking jacked. He is looking like the next generation of the Birdman, Thomas Berdych, but with much better movement. Such an athlete. What a specimen. You got to put him in A. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him on tour, especially on the hard courts. Let's go next to one of our heroes, personally, for us, Medved.
Oh, you're just giving it back to me. I like that. I would put him in A+ tier. I think that, yes, it's not necessarily a one-hitter killer, and we put that along the lines of B tier sometimes, but the problem is you just cannot get the ball past this guy. Defensively, he is a brick wall, and that has to count for something because he will frustrate you, he will fluster you, and he will figure out where you don't want the ball to be, and he will put it there all day long until you break. His technique is very funny looking, and I know tennis people can be very picky about having perfect technique, but man, this guy is effective all over, and his forehand is one of those things. He is, for me, upper echelon A tier. I mean, he's got multiple majors.
No, you're wrong. He has one. He's got multiple masters. No, does he have two?
In my mind, he has multiple majors.
Me too. In my mind, he has multiple majors. He deserves it. I don't think his forehand is good. I think you need to separate the forehand from the athleticism a little bit. As on its own, the forehand, he uses it well because he's got a great tennis mind. His defining factor of a great tennis mind is that you maximize your potential. Medi Boy is maximizing his potential considering, what he brings to the table.
You're insane. Like, what? What about his forehands not A tier? Hence, it is A tier.
Well, okay, viewers, I'm torn. Does having an ugly forehand, one that's potentially so ugly as Medvedev's, make it better or worse than it is? Because I think there's also an argument like the Pontiac Aztec argument, where it's so ugly that it actually makes it better.
Put that bad boy in A tier. Look at him. Look at what he thinks of your opinion. You put him in A tier right now. Thank you. We're not discussing this. I have the microphone and I'm no longer giving it back. We are talking about Tommy Paul, the boy from Jersey. This is a guy who absolutely blew me away when I watched him play at the Laver Cup.
Ladies, look. All the ladies watching. I know there's at least 10 ladies watching.
Tommy Paul absolutely blew me away at the Laver Cup in Vancouver. I was not super inspired by him watching him on TV for the past couple of years, but when I saw him live, I'm telling you, he hit the ball as hard as the hardest hitters in that tournament. I swear, I could not believe my eyes. I mean, it sounded like a gunshot every time he hit the ball. I think his forehand is a big reason why he's got a lot of the results he's got. I would put him in the upper echelon of B tier personally, because I just don't think that it is insanely damaging all the time. I would pick Medvedev over him most of the time.
Give me this. Viewers, just for your information, today, Tommy Paul defeated Medvedev with a scoreline of 6-1, 6-4.
Yeah, but that's not fair. That's Clay.
This is Clay. You cannot have this back. I'm fine with putting him in B, honestly. I don't think he has enough proven results. But I think, by the time his career comes to a close, he's going to reach kind of like an A-plus side on his forehand. I think he's got one of the best coaches in the game. If you want to learn more about Brad Stein, my good friend Stephen Boughton from The Slice has a pretty long interview with Brad Stein from when he was kind of touring as a journalist. Definitely worth a listen. Next up, my hero for cool factor. Every day I want to have swag like him. It's Felix Auger-Aliassime. People from Quebec have just this kind of spunk I think he's the one who should have had a rap album. I love his forehand. I think it's amazing looking. I think it's incredibly effective. Unfortunately, I think he needs a new coach.
I root for FAA. I like him. He's Canadian.
There's not a single player who I don't root for over FAA.
Yeah. I want him to win every time, and that's what makes watching him so frustrating. Fuck me, he is the most frustrating player to watch on tour. He can hit the hardest shot in the world, and he can knock out his opponent from anywhere on court. But as soon as the opponent sends something back his way, he crumbles and just shanks the ball into the crowd. And you can look at him, and he just looks kind of befuddled as to what's going on. I don't think you can I would personally, right now, I know he's playing a little bit better this week. I would put him in C tier.
If you were to recommend a banned substance for Felix to turn his game around, what would you recommend?
If I was his coach and doctor, I would prescribe him 3 weeks of hard partying with Nick Kyrgios. He needs to see that the world isn't calm, intellectual exercises. Mike Tyson, all right. You still need to help me post that. I cannot figure out for the life of me how to make a YouTube short. I would prescribe him 3 weeks with Mike Tyson. The kid needs to find his inner animal. I'll let Beck talk.
I'm a huge fan of Holger Rune, potentially his number one fan after his mom. I wouldn't change anything about his game. I think he's doing all the right things, except for one thing, which I'll let you talk about because it's your idea. I want to put him in B. I can't quite put him in A. I feel like it's just a little bit too inconsistent right now. Sometimes, he's in a tiebreaker and he finds this clutch, insane power and he hits his spots. And then sometimes he's like serving for the match and decides he's going to spray them all over the court. I don't really know whose idea is that. Is that Patrick's? Is that his? I want to see a little more Ferrer from him, I guess. But before I allow him to go into A, for now it's B.
I completely agree with a B tier pick. I think he has tons of potential. What I'm sort of seeing from Holger is someone whose body is getting bigger. He's clearly training hard, and I suspect he might be training too hard. He constantly looks fatigued on court, even when the matches have just started. I don't think there's a work ethic problem, or if there is, it's because he's overtraining. I think he needs to learn how to dial it back a little bit and figure out how to peak for these tournaments. I know that's hard to do because the ATP is such a stupid organization. Like, how can you develop properly when you only have 3 days from one tournament to the next? I think it's going to be a learning process for him on how to deal with these tournament schedules, and I think he's going to get better with time, but he needs time to grow. B tier for me.
So, Water Bottle Boy. Just want to remind you, viewers, we are going off current level. This man has sucked all year. It's like he doesn't want to be there. I don't know if he's having marital issues again or if he's just done with his career now that he's won everything. Is he saving the peak level for the Olympics? Maybe. I know everyone's going to want to put him in S. I think his forehand has never been an S tier compared to his key rivals. I think it's been a bit of a step behind them. It's hard to even put in A given what we've seen. Like, it's B at best, maybe even C.
Beckett may be the saltiest man I've ever met in my entire life. Novak